455-696-9696. So many good topics on the table for discussion. Now joining us to add his voice to the airwaves, Ringside All-Star checks in with us on Tuesdays. He is publisher of Bayoubuzz.com. His name, Steve Sabludowsky. And Steve, welcome aboard. How you doing?
Good morning, Jeff. And how are you today? How are you?
Hey, doing great. Thanks so much for being with us. And a lot to get to, Steve. Let me throw out a few of the topics we've discussed to see if you want to bite on any of them. I mentioned to the listeners that I saw a big billboard that said ABV, anybody but Vitter. And I played for him a little bit of a clip. Seems like it's pretty hard hitting. And seems like maybe there is a coordinated effort here to go after just Vitter, and I guess it helps any of the other candidates. So what do you know about this group?
Good question. I really don't know too much about them. I got a Facebook request, friend request. I was curious about it, and so I friended, and somebody sent me a text message the other day saying that they passed this billboard. I haven't seen it myself. So is it orchestrated? Yeah, I think so. I do. Who's funding it? I don't know. I think the Louisiana Democratic Party might be involved in some way, but I don't know. I mean, maybe that's unfair for me to say that.
What is a gumbo pack? I haven't investigated it. That seems to be the group behind it.
Exactly. And again, I don't know. I just became aware of it a couple of weeks ago. By the way, let me just mention, if I might, and that is that we're doing this on Bayoubuzz Google Hangout, so your listeners can watch this live. And so just wanted to mention that.
No, I'm glad you did, because
Sure.
Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't, and I always like it when we do, because that's another way people can participate via Google Hangout. So anyway, it does seem to be heating up gradually. Scott Angel has now been running some ads in the local market that we've seen. I've seen some internet ads from Darden. So we had a caller earlier saying the whole equal pay for equal work issue that Angel is hitting, saying women are underpaid. He was not happy with that. He thinks that's sort of a just a blatant play for the female support, although it might work, because the majority of voters are women. And last I checked, I don't think we have a major female candidate in the race, do we?
No, we don't. If I might ask you a question, that is, what did that ad say? The radio ad, I think you said. What did it say?
He asked me if I'd seen it, and I hadn't. He just said it was part of his commercial, and he didn't like it.
No, I'm talking about regarding Vitter.
Oh, back to the Vitter thing. The Vitter thing was all about his connections to people like Jack Abramoff.
Okay.
All about his votes that they took issue with, and then it brought up the DC Madam.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
Brought up that whole issue of being on the records of the call girl, and obviously that is going to be brought up. We'll see if it works any better this time than it did last time.
Well, again, I think that, at least personally, I think that the reason why it's relevant is not the fact that he was on the list, but again, the fact that he tried to quash the investigation, that he, even though he had the constitutional right to do so, he was urging the Fifth Amendment protections. And I just have a real uncomfortable feeling about that. Somebody who is a U.S. senator, somebody who wants to run for governor, who is quite frankly, the only reason why I think that he wasn't indicted is because of the fact that, you had the prescription issue, the statute of limitations issue. So to me, that's an issue. I just feel, after dealing with just as far as I'm concerned, a weasel with Governor Jindal, I just wish that we had.
Are you coming out against Vitter? Are you saying that you're recommending that the listeners not support Vitter?
No, I take all facts in consideration when I actually come out there and vote. I don't endorse anybody anyway. So
you think he could be compromised? One caller said, "Hey, they've got something on him, and they control him because of what happened." They said they brought up the whole thing about Denny Hastert saying, the powers that be could have had that information years ago and controlled Hastert.
Yeah.
They say, look at Vitter. He could be compromised by this kind of activity. And maybe powerful forces have more information that they're withholding to control him. Is that conspiratorial?
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, it is. Sure. Again, I don't really care. I mean, I do care, but for political purposes, I don't really care what happened in terms of his relationships that he, I believe, had. But to me, there are other issues that I think are more important as relates to his being, the most powerful elected official in Louisiana.
And what are those other issues?
Well, the one I just described, being, I think that's a very important issue. And the second issue, I think, is, again, both of these, he had a legal right to do. I just think that, that the idea that we're being invaded with federal money, and I'm saying federal money meaning outside money from people, national people, and the money is going into his campaign or his super PAC. I just have a real problem with that. I mean, I just think that. Why are we having these national? I mean, it's bad enough that we have Norquist basically telling us what to do without legislative session, and we're now having these people from outside Louisiana funding, his super PAC and his campaign. I mean, what happened to Louisiana's right to control our own destiny?
And then, of course, you've got people like Fleming and Kennedy and others, I would say, supporting him because many of them want to run for his seat when he wins, if he wins.
Sure.
And he's got most of the endorsements of the elected officials. Steve Scalise just endorsed him. I mean, most of them are behind him. I mean, he's got an overwhelming number of folks behind his campaign.
Yeah, and that's because I think that he comes across as being inevitable. And so I think they want to jump on the wagon. But, the election hasn't really, the campaign really hasn't taken off. Certainly, John Bell Edwards has been involved in the legislative session.
So he's been distracted, right?
So, yeah, he's been distracted, certainly in terms of campaign fundraising. So I think that we have a long way to go. I mean, we do. Does Vitter have? I mean, it's his race to lose, no doubt about that. So no, But
I'm just, I guess, interested in the development of this group that I hadn't known about. That seemingly now has some money and doing these ads, doing these billboards. That could be a factor that we didn't realize maybe a few weeks ago when they really hadn't come forward. And maybe that will be an impact in the race. I don't know.
Sure.
And see if the other candidates go down that route and bring up the whole scandal. I mean, this group is, but will Edwards or Angel or Darden?
Yeah. And by the way, I don't like third-party groups doing that. Quite frankly, I mean. I just don't like the way the whole campaign system is working with big money. We don't, in some cases, with the super PACs, we have no idea, where the money's coming from. And so,
if I'm not mistaken, one of the people behind this group is Trey Orso, who used to be executive director of the Louisiana Democratic Party.
Right.
We do have some knowledge of who's behind that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
and it could backfire. It could very well backfire.
Create sympathy for the senator, maybe, that he's being unfairly
Sure.
attacked.
Well, I mean, he's certainly going to say he is. So it could very well backfire.
504-556-9696. And also, Steve, have you had a chance to see that video in McKinney, Texas? The pool party gone bad, charges of police misconduct, others saying the teens were rowdy and police needed to, put some order into what was going on. Some neighbors are saying police actually acted properly. Others saying the policeman should have never brandished a gun. He's been suspended right now. Some activists saying he needs to be fired. Your thoughts?
Oh, it's premature. I mean, it really is. Yeah, I did see the video. At least, whatever I saw on one particular station. It's just premature. I think, on both sides. I mean, I think we all can raise questions, and that is, why did the police officer, first of all, I think he was hit from the back.
Right.
I mean, that's going to startle anybody, I think. And I think it's going to unnerve anybody. And hopefully they arrested whoever did that. It's on video. So that's number one. Second, I don't understand what it was that he was trying to get from the teenage girl who was on the ground. I don't understand that. So I think that should be investigated for sure. Was it too much, too much police force? As I appreciate it, I mean, they were trying to break the thing up. They told them to leave. It didn't look
like there were too many police. It looked like there were a lot more teenagers than police.
Oh, yeah. But what I'm saying is that there were too many, I think that the rules were that they can only invite two people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so
somebody broke the rules.
Well, yeah, somebody broke the rules.
Right.
No question about it. Again, I'm not taking sides. I think that, it needs to be investigated in terms of, what happened and whether or not the police officer went beyond what he should have done. At the same time, like I said, he was beat up. At least he was hit. So I think that, we need to just kind of, pause, not look at the politics of it, the race issues regarding to it. How
do you avoid the race issue? It seems to always be interjected.
Well, I mean, it's injecting on both sides. I mean, I'd prefer just to wait and see what is being investigated, and before really going out there and making and definitively making an opinion or decision.
All right. When we come back, we'll open up our phone line. Steve Sabludowsky with us, Jeff Crouere here. We're visiting via Google Hangout at Bayoubuzz.com, here on the airways, 990 AM, WGSO.com. And to add your voice to the discussion, it's easy. 504-556-9696. We'll come back with your phone calls, emails, right here on Ringside on WGSO.
Everyone knows that the city of New Orleans has the best food in the world, and obviously we're known for the best music in the world. But we're also known for producing some of the best coffee in the world, and no one does this better than New Orleans Roast Coffee. And I should know. I'm Felton Jones, the roast master of the city's well-known PJ's Coffee and New Orleans Roast Coffee, the city's newest and freshest brand of coffee on the market. At New Orleans Roast, we put an emphasis on quality and freshness in every cup. You can find all of our great creations at the city's finest restaurants. Also look for it at your favorite local grocery store.
It's time again for the 8th Annual Akula Foundation Fundraiser. Friday, July 17th from 7:30 to 10:30 at Southport Music Hall, 200 Monticello Avenue in New Orleans. Guests will enjoy a fun evening of music by Troy Marks and No Idea, a silent auction, delicious New Orleans-style food, and libations. Ticket prices are only $40 a couple or $25 per person. For information on purchasing tickets, please call Christopher Guthrie at 504-881-0452.
Hi, this is Jim Spyro. Join me every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. here on WGSO as we cover all the hot issues of the day. Obama, Harry Reid, the new Republican majority, the dysfunction in Congress, surveillance by the NSA, Iran, Afghanistan, all as we prepare for the presidential election in 2016. Listen in to our special guests from both sides of the aisle as we debate experts on issues relating to healthcare, the budget, national defense, and the U.S. Constitution. We never pull any punches, and of course, we take your calls throughout the hour, so make it a point to join us each and every Wednesday, 5 to 6 here on WGSO. See you then.
Bon appetit. This is Cynthia Clark, your food reporter for the Cuisine Report. Join me each Thursday at 5 p.m. on WGSO as we talk everything food in Louisiana.
Hi, this is Marcel Lashover. Join me every Friday from 5 to 6 for Show Me the Money Show on WGSO 990 AM and WGSO.com.
Farmers markets, neighborhood shopping, transit, the local food system, outdoor adventures, and more. Tune into All Things Local Saturday mornings at 9 as we talk to the people making it happen.
There is no other radio show where you'll be able to express yourself without hearing, "We thank you," and before you make your point. That's what Ringside Politics with a Punch is all about. Give Jeff Crouere a call at 556-9696.
Hey, it's an open line. So lots of topics we're going to get to. Steve Sabludowsky with us. Every day on the program, we have a Ringside All-Star who joins us. On Tuesdays, it's the publisher Bayoubuzz.com, Steve Sabludowsky. And we do it also via Google Hangout on Bayoubuzz.com, so you can see us as well as listen to us right here on WGSO. Always interesting. And Steve, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. And how are you?
All right, doing great. I know we got a lot of other issues to get to, but let's take some of these calls, and we bring on our friend, our favorite crusader for justice, Reverend Brown. Rev, what's happening? Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Mr. Steve Wadowski. How you doing?
Reverend, doing fine. Thank you so much.
Okay, first of all, let me just say this quickly. Is that, I put up a web page, National Action Now, and I'm trying to seek donations. I'm not soliciting on your show. I'm just explaining. I'm trying to seek donations so I can go to Kennedy, Texas, and be an advocate, not for blacks, not for white, but for troops.
For a truce?
That's the problem we have. The problem we have, you have civil rights groups go there, they're against the white community. You have white groups pop up and holding rallies, they're against the black community. So you're not going to get nowhere. First of all, it was not a racial issue. It was an excessive force issue. Just like with the Meredith thing in the over there off of print over there in the Bayou water area, where whites took offense. This is a race issue. Blacks took offense. It's a black issue. It was not a black-white issue. It was whether or not he used his gun appropriately. This cop did not use his gun appropriately. So let's deal with that issue. Then you break it down. The city needs to apologize because he needs professional training. But if I don't go on the ground, other civil rights groups going to get there and going to steam it up. So if that's what y'all want, racial division, that's what you're going to get. If you want racial healing, go to National Action Now, hit the donate button, send me something, I'm going there. And guess what? When I get there, you're going to see me on National, because I'm going to be talking about black and white. Thank you, Jill.
That's Reverend Brown. 504-556-9696. What do you say? Other issues we'll get to as well. Let's take some more of these calls, Steve. We go to Algiers. Alan is with us. How you doing, Alan? Good morning.
Morning, Jeff. I wanted to make a comment about something your guest said 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
He said that religious and people of conscience, they want to keep gays and lesbians down. So I guess that means that religious and people of conscience, They don't have mortgages. They don't have kids to raise. They don't have bills to pay. They don't have jobs to go to. They spend their waking hours trying to figure out, when they wake up in the morning, the first thing they think of is, how can I keep a gay person down today? They're just like white people. You know, there's a lot of white people or a lot of blacks that think white people wake up in the morning, the first thing they think of is, how can we keep black people down? How, you know, I don't have a mortgage. I don't have things to do in my own life, but I'm going to keep other people down. So ridiculous. You know, there aren't enough hours in the day. God forbid there'd be a white religious person, because he'd have to keep gays and blacks down. And there's 24 hours in a day, so I don't think you're going to have enough time to keep all these groups down, plus pay your mortgage and go to church and do all the things that you have to do in your life and still keep so many other people down.
Alan, interesting comments. I understand what you're saying, that a lot of this is unfair. These accusations are ridiculous, and people are more concerned about just maintaining their lifestyle and surviving in this bad economy. They're not looking to constantly engage in kind of discrimination. That's not what's going on. All right, my friend, that's Alan from Algiers. Steve, your response?
Good morning, Alan. You sound like a nice guy. I think what you're saying is, unfortunately, absurd. Number one, you only heard one part of the conversation. You might not have heard me voluntarily apologize for making that statement. Nobody suggested, coerced, or anything of that nature. Okay, personally, I recognize that. After saying this, making that statement, I recognize the fallacy in the statement. And I personally apologize for making the statement, because it did not include other reasons that I thought that there was this reaction. Okay, I do believe that my response was emotional in nature. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I made, that's why I believe I made the statement to start with. And that's why I realized, wait a minute, this is absurd. And I unilaterally apologize mm-hmm. and explained away. Do I believe that is part of the factor? Yes, I do. Okay. Can I say, what percentage? No, I cannot. Okay. Is it 90%? Is it 10%? I think it's part of the reason. Okay. And that's because of my life experience. I don't know how old you are. I recall, gays being ridiculed, in my life experience. That is what I saw. That is what, I personally experienced with my friends, in the schools, in the high school and junior high school and college, etc. that I went through. Hopefully we have gone beyond that. Are we? I don't know yet. So, well,
let me just interject also and just say this and see, get your view on this. It seems to me that we're spending an inordinate amount of time as a society discussing gay rights, gay marriage, LGBT issues, transgender issues, the Air Force creating new policies, the president tweeting approval to Caitlyn Jenner. Now we've got people worshiping Caitlyn Jenner as a goddess. We were talking about that earlier. To me, I think it's, incredibly overblown. And I don't know what this says about our society, but it's nothing good in my view. Steve, hang on. Got a whole lot more to get to. Got to right now take a brief time out for the news. It's ringside on WGSO. Jeff Crouere here. Steve Sabludowsky with us at Bayoubuzz.com. We're doing a Google Hangout on Bayoubuzz.com. And, of course, you can join us at 504-556-9696. We'll be back. This is Jeff Crouere. Join me at 7 a.m. till 11 for Ringside Politics with a Punch right here on WGS. We're here. Boy, got a busy 10 o'clock hour coming your way. We'll start off here with Steve Sabludowsky, publisher of Bayoubuzz.com. Our Ringside All-Star checks in with us on Tuesdays. And Rick Manning going to be joining us of Americans for Limited Government. And Christopher Guthrie of the Akula Foundation. So, Steve, welcome back. And, of course, we're visiting via Google Hangout at Bayoubuzz.com and right here on the airways at 990 AM and WGSO.com. Steve, before we take some more calls at 504-556-9696, I have to address the legislative session. We're now in the final days here. So what's your analysis on what we're going to see over these last few hours?
Thank you. Good question. Well, we have until Thursday, 6 o'clock p.m. We did an interview with Greg Hilburn from the Monroe News Star about what happened yesterday. And the day before, we did an interview with Tyler Bridges about what happened over the weekend. And so from that perspective, from those interviews and from what I've read, I think we're going to come up with a deal. I think it's going to play its way out. I think that the resentment the House members have towards Governor Jindal is certainly palpable, and I think that I think that if people allow their emotions to not get away, that I think we can do a deal. I thought it was really interesting that the House members, 11 Republicans, sent a letter to Grover Norquist and said, "Hey, look, your rule just doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, number one, it's the most liberal." What you're doing is you're sanctioning future taxes and allowing us to create tax credits to hide and camouflage those taxes. And I think that, if you look at what's going on, that is what is allowed. Secondly, I think that, what they're saying is, wait a minute, why is it that, we can go 8 years and reduce taxes by over $2 billion, but we're going to be targeted for this session because we have to raise taxes because of what we've done in the past. So that's I think that right now the session is I think if I had to really guess, I think that's what's going to happen.
504-556-9696. You think we'll have a special session down the road?
No, I don't think so. A special session versus a veto override session. The governor will decide whether or not, assuming that there is a budget that is not agreeable to the governor, he will decide whether or not he wants to veto part of the budget, the spending bills, the tax bills, and the revenue raisers, and so he will decide if he's going to line item. He will decide whether or not he will just veto the entire, and then you'll have a veto override session, assuming that any part of it is vetoed. Any part of the budget, all of the budget is vetoed. So you'd have a veto override session, and then after that, if there's no agreement, then no overriding and resolution, then you would have possibly a special session that is called by the legislature or the governor. Keep in mind that session, because the governor's in his last term, as I understand it, that session will require 3/4 majority. Okay, so to raise revenues. So that is the worst of the scenario.
That's a high.
That's an impossible, almost impossible. I think the 2/3. I think the Senate. Certainly, personally, I hope they can come to some resolution.
Right.
But I don't like the idea. I think it's pathetic that the Louisiana Senate, in particular, is caving in to allowing us to be able to come up with a bogus plan, a falsity, a lie to our students, a lie to our citizens for the purpose of giving Bobby Jindal an out. Okay, I just think that's pathetic.
Let's do this. Let's get some calls in. Steve Sabludowsky with us, Jeff Crouere here. Open line discussion right here on Ringside on WGSO. And also Bayoubuzz.com via Google Hangout, 504-556-9696 to join us, area code 504. Let's kick off this segment with our friend James in Metairie. What's happening, James? Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff, and hello, Steve. Jeff, 3 quick items, if I could, then my main point.
Yes.
Reverend Brown, why don't you pay the people of Louisiana the $9,500 that you owe them before you go to McKinney, Texas? The second thing is, white conservatives voting for David Vitter. It's the same political dynamic, blacks supporting Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Louis Farrakhan. Why do they do that? Why do you vote for a scumbag like Vitter? Jeff, the last quick point is how insulting this filthy white Christian conservative guy trying to run for president. Ted Cruz, he insulted, both. Joe Biden's son passed away from brain cancer. A few days after that, Ted Cruz, in front of an audience, made a joke at Vice President Biden's expense, saying to a group of Republicans, quote, "Vice President Joe Biden, you know the nice thing, you don't need a punchline." That was supposed to be funny. Cruz later apologized, but what a lowlife he is. Now, to the main point, Steve, the recent Gallup polls have shown, I think this has huge political implications, that Americans, as a general rule now, they're shifting their opinions on some critical so-called social issues. Same-sex marriage nationwide has about a 60% approval rate. Incredible increase over the last 10 years. For the first time in, I think, trying to pick it up here, first time recently, the support, or people calling themselves pro-choice, has now equaled or perhaps even exceeded people calling themselves pro-life. So the old white conservative males and females, the 65 and over group that is fading away, every day they're dying off. And again, as I've said before, they're being replaced by higher educated, better quality millennials. And that's going to have huge implications. And if the Republicans continue to hold on to these divisive social issues, I think they're going to get the losses that they deserve. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, the other way you can look at it is this. In the last election, Republicans didn't mobilize their base. Their base didn't come out in big numbers. So Romney lost. And if he would have gotten, and this is numbers from Ann Coulter, I think 4% more of the white vote, then he would have won. She was on the O'Reilly show last night, and O'Reilly was saying, well, why not go after, minority voters, Hispanic voters? And she says Republicans have lost because they haven't mobilized their base, including evangelical voters, Christians, and those who do have large blocks in the GOP. So we'll see. I mean, last few years, we've had moderates that haven't really gotten the evangelical vote mobilized, excited. I don't know if you're going to see a nominee this time that will. Certainly, I think if Jeb Bush is a nominee, that's not going to happen. But that is another way of looking at what our friend James was just pointing out. Young voters who have a preponderance to support, gay marriage and other issues, they normally don't vote in the kind of numbers that older voters do, and those that are more traditional voting blocks for the GOP. Steve, your thoughts?
I think that what James is saying has some validity in terms of the polls, the younger kids, the more ethnic oriented people. I think they are more inclined to be more liberal in their social issues, and I think that. Certainly what you're saying, I think, has merit. I mean, the conservatives, dropped the ball in 2012, and they didn't support Romney the way that they could have. But I think that, like Bobby Jindal said, and this is not about Bobby Jindal, but he did say right at the election, that the Republicans should stop being a stupid party, and then I think he was referring specifically.
See where that's gotten him.
Yeah, I see where that's gotten him, right. And he's way down there. Less than
he's last.
But the point I'm making is that I think he was referring to like Todd Aiken and others who were making statements about social issues. Yeah. And that backfired. The Democrats and the media were able to use that. And
I had Todd,
or not, that's what happened.
Yeah, I had Todd Aiken on this program. He wrote a book about it, and he said that that was taken, and the media ran with it, and that didn't reflect his whole record, and that was mischaracterized as someone who was constantly putting his foot in his mouth, and that wasn't him. And of course, the media had a field day with that comment, and they did go crazy with it. But, he came across to me as someone who was a mainstream conservative who made a mistake. But of course, he was demonized as someone who was, a radical individual. And then I think that contributed to the, of course, loss of that seat that really should have been won by the GOP. Hey, Steve, can you hang with us a few more minutes?
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's take a brief time out, Daryl. Take care of some business. When we come back, we'll go to more of your phone calls, 504-556-9696. Then in the next segment, Rick Manning is going to be joining us for Americans for Limited Government. We'll be talking about this Obama trade issue. And then, of course, the Akula Foundation has a big event coming up. Christopher Guthrie will fill us in on that. But right now, let's take care of some business right here on WGSO 990 AM. and WGSO.com. It's time again for the 8th Annual Akula Foundation Fundraiser. Friday, July 17th from 7:30 to 10:30 at Southport Music Hall, 200 Monticello Avenue in New Orleans. Guests will enjoy a fun evening of music by Troy Marks and No Idea, a silent auction, delicious New Orleans-style food, and libations. Ticket prices are only $40 a couple or $25 per person. For information on purchasing tickets, please call Christopher Guthrie at 504-881-0452.
Here's an important question. How would you define true wealth? In terms of dollars? Or perhaps in terms of good health? Or maybe it's based on a happy family? All of those are important. But see what you think of this definition. The truly wealthy are those who enjoy what they have. In other words, true wealth has less to do with possessions and circumstances than it does with gratitude and contentedness. The Apostle Paul once wrote that he had learned to be content, whether he had a lot or a little. In that case, I'd say he was truly a wealthy man. This is David Jeremiah, encouraging you to get on the road to new life. Discover God's definition of wealth on Route 66.
Route 66, driving the word home. Log on to Route66Life.com and get your roadmap for life. Route 66. Start your journey home today.
As the corporate media dies, MetroNow.com and TheDailyResistance.com continue to give you a decentralized and independent take on the latest current events as well as historical reference to help you wade through the propaganda of the prostitute media. Our mission is to inform the people of New Orleans about the issues of freedom, health, world events, and much more so that we as a community can thrive in the 21st century. Only with an informed public will we truly be free and independent. So take a look at MetroNow.com or TheDailyResistance.com as your independent news source.
Ringside Politics with a Punch and Jeff Crouere are on the air now. Your opinion is valued. In fact, if you like your opinion, you can keep your opinion. And I know you've heard that before. You can believe that's the truth. Call Jeff Crouere now at 556-9696.
Hey, we're back. Steve Sabludowsky joining us, BayouBuzz.com, of course. He's publisher of that site. We're doing a Google Hangout on BayouBuzz.com. Taking your calls, 504-556-9696. Jeff Crouere here. It's Ringside WGSO 990 AM. We're here weekdays 7 to 11. Every day we have a Ringside All-Star who checks in with us. Tuesdays, it's Steve Sabludowsky. Steve, one more issue I want to get your thoughts on and then take some more calls here at 504-556-9696. Harrah's has seen a pretty significant drop in their revenue. They're blaming the month-old smoking ban. They're saying they've seen similar declines in other areas. They're saying that the city is going to experience now a loss of revenue that's going to be coming into the city. Could be as much, several $1 million. So what do you think the city should do? Should they adjust their smoking ban? Should there be any changes made to it?
Good question. I personally, I detest smoking. I mean, I really do. Not just the health issues for individuals and the secondhand smoke that I do believe does exist, but just the fact that you go into a place that may have smoking and then you feel contaminated. Is there some way that they can work this out where they can have a place where people can gamble and smoking, and that the employees are fully agreeable to that? That remains to be seen. I personally dislike smoking so much that I'm glad we don't have smoking. But I do understand that Bourbon Street is now being more littered. Is there some way to correct that situation? I think you have to just balance the health of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a horrible, horrible habit that I think that America has really allowed and over the centuries, and I'm glad that's going the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I'm not a smoker, and thankfully, I don't have anybody in my family who is a smoker. My former father-in-law died of lung cancer, so I really saw the effects of that and really the toll it took on him. But on the other hand, I do believe that smokers shouldn't be targeted. We shouldn't have discrimination. So I think there is a balance, and I think bar owners they make the point that, hey, they should have the right to say, hey, this is either a smoke-free establishment or we allow smokers here. And then patrons, if they want to be in a smoke-free environment, can just go to those restaurants that have no smoking allowed. That it really would be up to the bar, and that some of them would really cater to folks who want to go in and smoke. I don't know if you've seen the video recently on the Maroney, where you had some people that are forced outside to smoke. Then they became easy targets for criminals who went by and robbed them. So I don't know. It seems like the smoking ban was put together in a hasty manner. I think there are lots of things that maybe need to be looked at as far as some changes. And Harrah's certainly hasn't lived up to their promises as far as the number of employees. And this could be another out for them to also shed more of their labor force. Yeah. All right, let's get some more of these calls in. 504-556-9696. All right, our good friend, our spirited contributor, Phil the Patriot, joins us. What's happening, Phil? Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, brother and sister patriotic hostages. I want to speak up on the smoking issue, okay, regarding cigarettes and marijuana, as a matter of fact, and anything that's really bad for you. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. I'm exposed to people that smoke pot. See them all the time. I deliver to them, I see people that smoke cigarettes. That's co-workers that smoke cigarettes, and I can tell you what, they're both bad for you. I don't understand why they just don't, if you're going to use marijuana as a medicine, make it like green tea or ginseng tea or something like that for medicinal purposes. I don't see any sense in smoking it. And it just like there ain't no sense in smoking green tea packets, If you people out there, want to know the truth, let me tell you something. Cigarettes are very, very bad for you. About 4.5, 5 months ago, I witnessed my mother die slowly. And I mean very slowly. She quit smoking a long time ago, brothers and sisters, but it was too late. It caught up to her. She had lung disease and she had heart disease. And let me tell you what, the last few days of her life were absolutely terrible. She died in a very terrible way. She died in my arms and my other 3 siblings' arms. So I'm going to tell you something. Cigarette smoking is suicidal. It is dangerous. It is stupid. It is crazy. It'll turn you into a zombie. It will mess your mind up. Not only that, prescription drugs are very, very bad for you. Don't take them. And not only that, don't drink soft drinks.
All right. The Patriot with some health warnings. 504-556-9696. Let's roll on, Steve. Next joining us, fellow attorney, goes by the handle Colonel Jessup. Colonel, welcome.
Good morning again. First of all, Steve, you might be interested in this scenario. A few years ago, I learned how, many years ago actually, met Professor Edward Thorpe from MIT. I learned how to remember the cards when I played blackjack. Now, I don't cheat. I don't touch the cards. I don't do anything. But here in Louisiana, at the treasure chest, they kicked me out for being, I guess, too good. So anyway, I filed a lawsuit against them because the law at that time in Louisiana did not allow them to do that. Now, but right after they paid me off in a real nice settlement, they went to the legislature and passed revised statute 2727.4, which I call the Colonel Jessup law. and look that up, Steve. Anyway, what it says is if we don't like the color of your eyes, we can kick you out. That was after my case because I was getting called from other fraud counters to handle the case, and I said, it's too late. They already did it to us. It was rotten. So I'm so happy Harris did that. By the way, this guy Woody who called in, he says, I don't know how many cards are in the deck. Tell him to go mortgage his house and meet me. He can become Harris. I'll be the player.
That's all right. That's Colonel Jessup. All right, Colonel. We have limited time. We're going to try to squeeze in a few more. Thanks for your call. 504-556-9696. Next in line, our friend Adam in Pearl River. What's happening, Adam? Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, fellas. We could float 100 balloons on that hot air, Jeff, that you just got. Listen, I caught a few calls ago. I caught the latest James jive regarding the doom and gloom he was attempting to lay on conservatives. Jeff, evidently James was out to lunch last year during the congressional elections when conservatives swamped the Democrats without question. So the point is, the conservatives are out there. They're ready to vote. But the Republicans have to realize that without the candidate that they want, conservatives are not going to support them.
Right.
It's just that simple. And I can tell you, just from the class I'm teaching this morning, when I speak to these young people about their views, particularly values and political views, their thinking is conservative. They haven't learned, due to the media and other sources, to connect their thinking to the conservative and Republican Party. And that's what I'm attempting to accomplish. And I show them the difference between the principles of the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party. And immediately the light bulb goes off. Well, I'm in favor of the Republican Party's thinking. And so we need to teach them, as I'm trying to do now,
sort of the underlying principles of both parties, and they're not getting that information, Adam, from the media, from other sources.
That is correct, Jeff. Their minds are being twisted by what's going on in the media and even the programming, sitcoms, etc., that they watch. But when you get them fresh and you put the values in front of them,
right,
they opt for conservative values. And that should teach us something about what we need to do for them.
All right, my friend.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, Adam, I appreciate the report from the classroom, and thank you for what you're doing, teaching kids. We value our teachers, you and the others that are doing that. My sister's been a 30-plus year teacher, so we certainly appreciate the work all of y'all are doing. Steve, we have limited time. I want to try to squeeze in a few more of these quick ones. Let's go to the other side of the ideological aisle with our friend from Atlanta, a.k.a. the Flaming Liberal. Flaming Liberal, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you, Jeff. You know, I read the Picayune that the state is about $10 million behind in paying payments to New Orleans for the services that they offer Harris, like police and fire protection.
Yeah.
So the state has not. Maybe Colonel Jessup needs to file a lawsuit against the state to force the state to pay New Orleans the money owed that Harris to maintain, the services for Harris. Now, Jeff, earlier I think you questioned what I said, or you couldn't find a column regarding May being the wettest month.
I couldn't find it on NOLA.com. So, I mean, if you could send that to me, I'd like to see it.
I don't have internet access right now, but it's an Associated Press article by Seth Borenstein titled "Forget April Showers. May was the wettest month on record."
Okay.
And real quick, if I may, I heard Kasich being interviewed by the House Negro Herman Cain on a radio station in Atlanta a few minutes ago, saying how he balanced the budget when he was the chairman of the House Budget Committee.
Mm-hmm.
But what he doesn't tell you is he balanced the budget based on the Clinton tax increases, which every Republican voted against. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. But then again, I guess Republicans can.
The Flaming Liberal. All right, I'm going to look for that article, Flaming Liberal, see if I can find that and talk about that tomorrow, because that was an article about climate change, and I'd like to delve into it. And Steve, obviously, that's a big issue here in this day and age. All right, we have about 2 minutes left, and I want to squeeze in two quick ones. Tony and Metairie, if you could be quick, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. I was just thinking that I think that was Adam you had on talking about teachers.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was talking about helping the students change their mind. That seemed quite a different of a contrast. And one of the other callers were talking about that he's seen in this last 10 years of his generation a higher educated millennium of students. So which was worse? Because I would have to say that when you look at it, the moral decline since the 1900s into the 21st century is absolutely horrific. So is Adam poisoning people?
No, no, I don't think he's poisoning people. I think he's trying to help these students out.
But Jeff, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My question is Adam teaching in a public school? And if so, is, say, indoctrinating somebody based upon political party, is that proper? And likewise, if
I don't know where he's teaching.
If somebody's in a university teaching, would that be proper also? I think that you should stay away from political positions if you're teaching in a public environment.
Or he could be just presenting the information, saying,
but that's not what he said.
Here's this party, and choose for yourself.
No, that's not what he said, though.
I don't know where he's teaching.
Okay.
I do know that I value what teachers do, and I don't think we have enough good ones. As far as what our friend Tony said, as far as the supposed brilliance of this young generation, I've seen studies that show actually this generation is not as smart because the educational opportunities are just been so skewed, and we have the problems with the home life. We have all these other issues. They're technologically advanced, but as far as book smarts, they can't hold a candle to their father's generation or their grandfather's generation. So I think actually that is a real concern. Real quick, Brian and Metairie, we got about a minute. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. At 2:47 this morning, we added a new coffee buddy, and he's a very far-left Democrat. We were talking about Alario and this middle of the road Democrat that's running that seems to have a good head on his shoulder. And this young fellow said he would rather vote for Alario before he'd vote for this gentleman. I believe he's from. On the commercials, they show him standing next to his farm. I can't remember his name.
John Bell Edwards.
Yes. He would vote for Alario before he'd vote for him, which makes you wonder how far left this guy Alario is.
Well, John Alario is technically a Republican, but...
well, I know that, but what I mean is only by the letter. It's not by the walk that he walks.
I don't think Alario's far left. I would say he's a pragmatist, but he doesn't have conservative principles. Hey, Steve, we got to roll. Thanks so much. I'll have my column for you later on today. BayouBuzz.com. Check it out. Rick Manning joins us next of Americans for